Yes, you're going to have people turn their backs, but it's time for us to keep it real. Just keep talking that real, bro. Do what you do. I know what you do, so keep doing that. Talk the real.
The HBI lads will see you now. See you now. See you now.
I don't want to cause no problems. I just want to live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense.
All right, we are back, episode 5 of the HBI podcast, Health, Business and In Between. And this week, we're talking about which health practitioner to see and when, and with some sweet brackets going on around there. Is your health practitioner a dirty dog who's trying to jip you for money? Because we were ranting off screen. Joining me, as always, I am Nathan, the chiropractor. Here is our main man, the stingy bearded man himself that's soon getting shaved, Mr. Ben Humphries, physiotherapist. How are we, Benny?
I'm going good, boys. How you doing?
Very, very good. And, of course, the chocolate delicious himself, Mr. Mina, the myotherapist. How are we, brother?
Awesome, brother. Awesome.
Who wants to kick us off? Who wants to lead in? Obviously, this came about because we were just making fun of people off camera. But it's time. I think it's a really important subject because there's a dual line here of what could be appropriate and what's definitely just people trying to fleece people for money.
Definitely. So I reckon we start with Mina. Yeah. So I reckon we delve into...
Is he our dirty dog, is he? Is that what you're saying?
No. He is our local Egyptian
local legend.
Cross Lebo, but he's the most authentic, genuine Lebanese bloke you'll ever meet.
I already feel like we're going to have to cut this due to racial profiling, but all right. Lean us in, man. Where do you think? Let's start with the positives. When it comes, someone's got an issue. When should they be, or where should they be going? What should they be looking to do?
Look, a lot of times I'm a big fan of not dissing any health practitioner because what works for me might not work for you. And I get a lot of people come in, I went to a physio and he was crap. I went to a chiro and he was crap. I'm like, look, they're not crap. It just depends on what you're going there for, right? Yeah. And how well do you know your body? Okay. Have you kind of had this happen before? Have you researched about it at all? Or have you just gone, physio, bang, I'm going there and expecting the world and not getting anything in return? You know, and this
good.
Yeah. And the other thing I think we would talk about this just before is sometimes it's nothing to do with the treatment. It's all about that, what's the word we want to look here? Person, that personality. Sometimes,
practitioner, yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite quotes that I stole and I'm now going to claim as my own is that I believe everybody benefits from chiropractic, but I'm not everybody's chiropractor. Same, and you can replace any profession there. Like there's certain stuff that we're just not meant to work with certain people. You know,
that's right. That's reality.
Our interests aren't there. Things, and that's totally fine. But in a lot of cases, the problem is that person then associates that, let's say, poor experience, which is really just a thing, as a professional issue rather than just a personal issue. Would you agree?
Very true. Yes, I would.
One of the aims of this podcast is to educate people on certain conditions and, who does what in terms of treatment, therapy, rehab, adjustments. And a lot of people just guess their way and they spend a shitload of money and then they kind of don't get the result that they actually want. So what I love about our structure here, even at my body clinic or Humphries Health or your place in Geelong, Nathan, is that we have a network of people. So even though I can't do it, my job as a health practitioner say, look, this is kind of out of my scope. Go see Benny for XYZ, go see Nathan for XYZ, and we will communicate with each other and get you a plan that's actually going to work for you. And when I actually talk to people about that, they're excited. They're excited that they don't have to relay their issues over and over and over again. And that way they're a team that works together in order to kind of get this fixed.
Because, it comes down to being a very honest practitioner for one, not putting money over their client's best interests, being honest enough and, being humble enough to say, look, I'm not the right guy for you. Like, I wish I could be the guy to help you because you're a good bloke and whatever. But look, I think you'll get better results seeing Nathan or Mina versus me. So I'll check in with you along the way, but at this stage for this problem, this is not my bread and butter.
Yeah,
I just need to go see someone else.
Yeah, I think
is when I was working with Benny. There was a client that she kind of benefited a little bit more. Well, she thought she benefited a little bit more from my treatment, and Benny's like, mate, I don't have an issue. Like, take the
Yeah.
client. If she, and I felt bad because she's not my client, but at the end of the day, we're trying to work for the client.
That's right.
And, you know, even other, you know, a guy called EJ as well, who works at Doherty's, top bloke. You know, he really couldn't do lymphatic drainage, and he's come the client straight to me. And I said, you know, I'll kick you back a commission. He's like, no. If the client does what the client needs, and she ends up getting third in the worlds at the ICN, you know, because her leg was great. So, you know, it's a win-win situation. And like you mentioned earlier, Nathan, just because we didn't fix it doesn't mean we didn't help.
Yeah,
Right?
100%.
By putting him to the right person, we've been able to help. So I think it's just something that I really would love a lot of practitioners to take on board. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean your referral network can't help.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you're not helping, you know.
That's right.
I think, like, if I was to give people listening, and, you know, if they're not obviously health practitioners themselves, if there's one simple piece of advice I think that everybody can benefit from when it comes to choosing a health practitioner, it's that if that health practitioner claims to fix everything, they're probably not going to fix anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody can fix everything. So if they just keep harping on, oh, here comes Siri again. If they just keep harping on and saying, no, I can fix that. I can fix that. Oh, no, you don't need to go anywhere. I can do this. No, I can do that. Like, you've got to start to wonder, because within each of us, we have, I mean, I'm not using anything, but like interest specialities, or, you know, things that we're better at, but also we have limitations.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's just claiming to do everything, I'm questionable on that.
Very. And I think that was a very good point you raised, because it's like, sure, most of us can treat everything, but are we the best at it? And can we maximize your outcomes with that? It's like, I know for a fact I can treat most things, not everything, but I know for a fact that Mina does some things he treats way better than what I do. So I'm like, look, I could get you good results, but the best results are actually with Mina or Nathan, not actually me.
And I think an important caveat there, when we say treat everything, we mean everything within our scope. So like neuromusculoskeletal system, not like, oh, come in and I'm going to like instrument assisted soft tissue your cancer away before someone reports us on episode 5. Like, you know, but I've literally, like, I've seen claims like that from within my profession, within other professions, where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna adjust your like leprosy away, and I'm just like, are you? Like, if
I'm
you
not
are,
convinced.
I'm keen to learn this adjustment because it sounds legit. But
I can make a lot of money off this.
My understanding of science tells me that this is unlikely.
Yeah, 100%.
But also, final caveat, sorry to cut you off, Ben, just because this is the other, I think, where people get mistakes. So I look after a number of clients that are currently going through cancer. Mm-hmm. Now, I am not treating their cancer, but I'm looking after their body to help them, because, man, people are going through chemo and not in a good way. A lot of musculoskeletal pain. So I'm helping them to be in a better state so they can help to fight that. But then someone will be like, well, you're trying to treat their cancer. And you're like, no, I am not.
That's right. I didn't make any claims. I think it's, like I tell a lot of my clients, is like the body has a priority of what it wants to do first. And often with a lot of my clients, it's like, well, building biceps is actually down towards the bottom of the priority list. So, for example, what you're saying, Nate, obviously your body's fighting cancer. That's much more important than building muscle tissue, because it's going to spend its resources on keeping you alive versus making you a bigger human. So, yeah, it's, as you said, like if there's a big thing like chemo going on, there's less resources and less priority on actually fixing the muscle tissue and the joint pain and reducing systemic inflammation. So if you can help reduce some of their aches and pains, there's going to be more resources in the body dedicated to actually killing the cancer and fucking staying alive, rather than, you know, trying to fix your neck or whatever it may be.
And if nothing else, at least they get to feel better.
That's right. It's very subjective, like objective in a way, you know, obviously increased range of motion and shit. But if you feel better going away and you feel that you get benefit from it, then fuck it, do it, whatever it may be.
You know, one thing I've really seen a lot in the clinic, and I take my time with my clients, and I like to, you know, you mentioned something, Benny, in a post about expectation. It's kind of really sat with me a little bit. So I really educate people on that. When you go somewhere and you pay for something, there needs to be a level of expectation and a form of result. Yeah, might not be the result that you want, but a form of result, and you can kind of see the plan in order to get there. So a lot of things I guess practitioners don't do well is they're too worried about the next appointment and not kind of focused at the appointment they've actually got right now. And with me, I tell the clients, there's three W's: the why, the what, and the how. Okay? Why is this happening? How are we going to fix it? And what are we going to do to make sure it doesn't kind of come back? You know?
Yeah, that's good.
These are three things. And when they leave with a result. They leave with an expectation, and they understand why it is they need to come back. Well, a lot of people, I'm like, well, do you know why they asked you to come back? No. So on the client's behalf, and everyone that's listening, ask.
That's right.
Why do I need to come back? Because we're doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah. And it's about pre-framing too. You know, initially, for mine, we have an evaluation followed by what I call a report. So we check in how the body has responded to in the first session. We go through any results of any testing. And this more than anything is about, I think my computer's playing up again, but is about setting that expectation and that process of what we should expect. You know, like, we should expect with this kind of an injury, we're looking at 6 to 12 weeks. We should expect to see in the first 4 to 6 weeks the following thing happen. And we're going to check in at this state to say, hey, are we on track, or do we need to change course before we get to the end and just pretend like it's happening? That way, like, one of the biggest things I've always said to people is, like, it's very normal to get treatment and feel worse, you know? Like, and usually only
temporarily.
Temporarily, not like actually may work, but like what I often refer to people is like, hey, like, if you may feel like you had a heavy gym session tomorrow after we work on you today. And if anything, that's a good thing, because at least we've made a change, and if you can change it, you can fix it. You know what I mean? Like, my favorite quote that I use in the clinic, if the person's old enough to remember it, is kind of referencing back to the classic Predator. If it bleeds, we can kill it. It's sort of like, if I can change it, I can fix it. That's 100% what you should be going, like, because that's a result. Whether you made something feel a little bit worse or a little bit better, you were able to change it. That person can see a change, and they know there's a result coming.
That's right. Like, you might feel worse, like, you know, subjectively the pain might actually be amplified, but your range of motion, the ability of your muscles to contract, the amount your muscles can now move actually feels better. So functionally, they're usually better, but like, they might be
quality can improve.
Some of the treatments we do. Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
Yeah, well, like, it's kind of like if you've got an injured joint or an injured muscle, you know, if you've got a bruise and you poke it, it's kind of sore, right? Like, so if you're going to work through an area, it'd be normal to assume that you're going to pull up a bit sore.
Comes back to the expectation. Like, I had a client yesterday.
Come closer, bro.
Come closer, bro. You're sounds like you're yelling from another room.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah, so I had a client yesterday, and he messaged, I'm feeling really shit today. I'm like, and I told you that yesterday, that today you're going to feel like you need another treatment. But the day after, you know, you're going to go, yeah, you did say that. So sometimes, you know, clients won't take everything in that you say to them. So it's always good to kind of check in with them when they leave. Are you aware of what we've done today? Are you sure you actually understand the process? Because these people are your advocates. Yeah?
100%.
The people that are around them are going to be like, wow, you look awesome today. What's changed? I went and saw my chiro, and I understand exactly what's been going on with my body.
Yeah, that's right. There's a big, like, a personal sort of gain that they get from that as well. Like, they're now secure and confident that they've found a competent practitioner who knows exactly what's up, whereas there might have been someone in the past, or several people in the past, who might not have known their issue. So now they're confident, they know what they're dealing with, they've got the comfort and security knowing that, and now they've got a plan going forward because you've been very clear in your communication. Say, we're going to do this, then that, then this, and let's say this doesn't work, then we're going to do this instead. So you're also troubleshooting for them, so they leave feeling very confident that you have their issue handled. And if you don't have it handled, then you've handled it in a way that you've said, right, well, go see this bloke because he specializes in this. So I can help, but he can help better, and I can't, you know, handle the whole thing the best way I want it. So I'm going to send it off to someone else.
Yeah. Well, let's hot fire around right here. Let's run through some basic condition stuff, and let's not necessarily, like, obviously I think we can all say that pretty much anything we say, all of us work on, right? But let's run through some stuff and sort of go just hit the high points of when might be a better time and where. So if we're talking, let's just say, torn muscle, where are you going? And assuming it's not completely separated here. So like muscle strain, where are you headed?
Go Mina.
Something like that, you could see a myo or a physio for that. Yeah?
Yeah.
So the reason I would say, and depending on the myo, because the myo strengths don't really fit in terms of testing and diagnosing, right?
Yeah.
So something like that, I would say go to a physio where they can assess you and give you a bit of a report and a rundown of how severe your case is, okay? And then once kind of inflammation, all that thing is kind of gone down, I would expect that person to refer out to a myo to do a lot of the hands-on treatment. And then obviously through that process, you have a look if there's any joint issues or anything that's surrounding any bones or anything that's affected, see a chiro, and then back to the physio for rehab, right? Because everyone kind of has their strengths. So a muscle sprain or a strain or a tear, I would definitely say myo or physio, but I feel that physio can handle the assessment piece better than a myo can.
Yeah.
And depending what kind of physio as well. So some physios are sports physio, some people are just general, general physio, depending on. So do your research and find out exactly the type of person that you see, what sort of clientele they see. But to answer that, I would say like a myo or a physio, but I would go more towards a physio.
Yeah.
Perfect. I agree 100%. That was a good explanation.
Yeah. I would 100% agree. Like, I might only caveat with, like, for me, I'd be more than happy diagnosing it, but I think I'm kind of more unique in a lot of the chiro space in terms of that side of things. So
You're
for
special,
most people, no, well, that's what my mum always told me. But like, I think when it comes to, in my mind, it's like you got to strain. Like, I almost think of it as, your sports trainer or physio on the side of the field. They're there because that's what they do real well. That acute assessment,
Huge assessment, yeah.
Like acute assessment stuff, like muscle, like that, man. Physio, and then like you said, if they're not hands on, to someone like yourself, and even if they are hands on, the myo tends to be better at doing it. So go down and send that way. But if there's a rehab process that needs to be followed, then it needs to be sent to the right person as well.
Correct. And I kind of give this analogy. It's a bit corny, but I like it. So think of a trailer. You got 9 boxes, 3 by 3. I think I kind of explained this in one of the earlier ones, but it just fits with this conversation.
Do it again.
So let's say the box in the middle is the one that's affected that we can't actually reach, right? And you've got pretty heavy straps that go across this trailer. So first thing we need to do is we need to take the straps off. Okay, so that's your massage, right? Post your massage, once everything's kind of freed up, then we can move the box, which is your chiro or osteo, right? So now that all the straps are off, we can rearrange the boxes as we like. Then to put the straps back on is your physio. Okay, so they're the ones that are going to rehab you and get you back to where you need to be, right?
Make sure those straps are lined up well.
Straps are lined up well, they're as tight as they need to be, and they're going to take you on that journey for as long as you need to go for. So this is just a basic concept that I use with a lot of people. Like, that's why your private health offers you a range of options, not just one. Right?
All right, well,
take advantage.
We talk muscle. Let's go joint then. I know that's pretty much covered it for everybody, but we might as well start on joint injury. Where are we going?
I would, again, like as a physio, a chiro, and a myo, we all can treat and assess several different injuries. But my main go-to for a joint problem, especially when stiffness is definitely one of the primary issues, I'd send straight off to a chiropractor.
Yep. I tended chiro, myo, and I think physio, primary joint injury there. And then same thing goes. If that joint's now moving up and we've got a soft tissue issue around that, that's when I'm sending on to the myo. Yeah,
100%. So I think that, again, like we're talking blanket statements here. Like generally speaking, like if I've got a sore neck or a sore mid-back or a sore lower back, and I know it's definitely spine related, I'm definitely going to a chiropractor over any other practitioner.
Maybe in the next podcast we'll talk about different pain and types of pain.
Yeah, nice.
Which people can go, I felt that before. Yeah. So there's a difference between a sharp pain, a deep dull ache, or a sharp shooting pain. Like there's a lot of different explanations that clients will present, and ones you probably haven't even heard before. So if we can kind of break through that and help you understand the sort of pain you've got, that might make your picking process a lot easier. Because a lot of time they've spent a lot of money and time figuring out what they have versus going to this person because they know they're going to fix it, which is not their fault.
That's right.
Well, there we go. Yeah. Stay tuned. Episode 6 will be the pain game. Look out.
Yeah.
All
that's
right.
well.
So,
sorry, mate. It's people
go,
like.
man, go.
So we're talking largely objectively here, aren't we? Like, obviously, the client having the right information to then make the right decision.
We're assuming they already know what's injured.
Yeah. So, like, often people make decisions based on friends and family, and like, oh, this is my family physio, my family chiro, or my mate goes and sees this dude and says he's really good. But it's about delving into, right, well, you say they're really good, but what have they really helped you with? So if you're not sure what's going on with your injury, you got to suss out some of your information, some of the leads you've been getting. Like, well, Mina's been saying that because he had a crooked neck, so but my knee's sore, so I probably wouldn't go and see him specifically for that unless I knew he was equipped to deal with that as well as handling the sore neck.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think it's not asking who, it's also asking why. Because, if you've been seeing someone for some mid-back stiffness and you've got a torn ACL, they may be in the position to help as well, but you'd probably want to investigate further. And I think this is one area where I think above all else, physio really stands alone is in those ligament rehab and stuff, like ACLs and things like that. I know there's a number of chiropractors that definitely do step into that realm, but for me, I work with people who are going through that. I work mainly to assist their body in terms of function around the changes in gait and things like that. But I'm always co-managing with a physio that has the full rehabilitation equipment on hand.
Yeah. And you're, again, like I think us three, not to shine sunshine up our own asses, but we're all very hybrid in nature in what we do. We all delve into each other's industry, even though we're not be the best at it, but we have a very broad spectrum of tools to treat our clients, whether it be hands-on treatment, assessment, subjective and objective testing, or whether it's designing rehab. Because Nath, most of the stuff you're spitting out at the moment on Instagram is like high-end, like better rehab than I've ever seen from a lot of physios. So the fact that you're a chiro who's very hands-on, very manually good, you also can design really good strength and conditioning programs as well.
Well, a guy asked me if I had done any exercise prescription courses last night, and I was like, 20 years in the gym and a young man that read all of T Nation because I had nothing else to do, the classics, but other stuff. And then I was like, well, I guess that's what I'm doing next now. I'm building an online exercise prescription course for allied health. Because clearly there's a problem. Clearly there's a need.
There is. I need to talk to you about this because that's what I'm thinking about doing as well. And I've been talking to Mina a lot, and I've said I would do some mentoring with him, but I've been a dog and haven't. But that's the next mentoring where we're going to go down with Mina is into the strength and conditioning rehab side of things, plus the assessment and diagnostic stuff.
Like, I really think, and I saw a great post the other day, and they're talking about. It was a physiotherapist just talking about that, personal trainers are not physios, but physios are not personal trainers. And that there's a spectrum in there in that, your personal trainer doesn't have the ability to diagnose. You can get a gist. So physio does, but then most physios don't have the ability to run high-end athletes in terms of athletic performance. And it's about working together. Now, there's absolutely some hybrids in between there.
Yeah, of course.
But then it's, again, you never base an entity on its minority. And I think that's a really important one. It's why most of my continued education at the moment, it's been around strength and conditioning, because I know what I'm doing in the clinic. Chiro-wise, I'm on that. But I have a huge, and more it's just scratching my own itch, love for strength and conditioning. And the more I do it, the more I find I can add more to my clients.
Just adding value left, right, and center. Yeah. And because you're an active powerlifter as well, so it's in your best interest to know biomechanics, strength and conditioning, basic injury rehab, how to teach, certain skills and techniques with certain lifts, because it's what you do.
Yeah. I still think one of my favorite ever quotes was from Andrew Locke. And, Andrew's said some things over the years. I don't agree with all of them, but I do love the man. But he's like, if you go into a place and that, whether it's physio, myoko, whatever it is, and they tell you to stop lifting or something like that, the only time you should maybe take that seriously is if that person looks like they lift. If that person looks like they've never lifted a weight in their life, it's time to find somewhere else to go.
That's what I'm working on. I'm getting too skinny over here, working too much. So I got to get some respect back from my clients and go back to the gym.
Watch out, he's just going to suddenly get real juicy out of nowhere.
Yeah. I tell them I'm going to be the jacked old dude. They'll be me. Not just right now.
Salt and pepper beards going left, right, and centre.
Yes.
I kind of agree with them because I always say to people, like, rest is rust. Like, rest something if you need to. But then again, if you understand your condition, you'll know if it needs rest or if it doesn't need rest, and try and get into the gym and rehab that area as quick as you possibly can. And that's why I've grown such a big kind of passion for that now. And I want to learn as much as I possibly can, because in your Myo course, they do like maybe 4 weeks of corrective exercise once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the wrist, the leg, the back, and you can't grasp it all. You just can't grasp it all in that course. So
that's right. Well, it's like massage in the physio course. Well, mine specifically was 2 hours in a 4-year course. Yeah. Like, just like you've actually done more exercise prescription compared to massage of what I've done in my course, and that's often why, like we've said our last episode, why physios traditionally are not very good with their manual therapy, and myotherapists not be that great with their end of strength and conditioning rehab.
A lot of clients have expectations that physios are going to rub them down for an hour. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, not fucking these new gen physios like myself. Well, I will, but not many other people will.
You're the only one, as I've seen.
That's why I think people need to make it clear. And there's no right or wrong, but as a practitioner, you should make it clear what you do and you don't do. Now, I may have brought this up last episode, but I had a guy down here in Geelong, I think he was a friend of yours, to contact me asking about scraping because he knows I do some of it. He's like, man, do you scraping? Like, when's your next hour or so that I could get in? And I was like, and I had to be honest. I said, listen, man, I do use scraping as an adjunct in some of my treatment. Yeah. It's not like I don't do hour-long scraping sessions or half hour. Like, it's if that's what you're looking for, I'm not the person to see. I do have a myotherapist in with me. He doesn't do scraping, but he does do needling, cupping, release work. And if that's what you're looking for, I can definitely set that up. But if you're looking for just scraping, I don't want to waste each other's time because although I may use it, it's not going to be what you're looking for.
Yeah, but people respect that. Yeah, they'll come to you for other things.
Because I didn't try and come in. I'm going to do it for half an hour, and the next time he comes in, I'm like, surprise adjustment. You're out.
See you later.
It's been fun. You can't. One of the biggest mistakes people make in business, once you do something, you pretty much have to keep doing it.
Expectation, that's right.
So unless you everything I do, everything I add, explain why. If I do extremity adjustments, we're doing this today because the body needs it. Unlike the spine often needs a regularity of care because it's under constant tension. The extremity joints often don't need that regularity. So it's one of those ones where you just got to explain what you're doing and why, so that people know that if they don't get that, they're not missing out on something.
That's right. Just because you can do it, as you said, it's it might not be your bread and butter. Be careful. Even content wise, I put out a lot of content, as you guys know, and a lot of people come in fresh off the bat, saying, "Let's do some shirts off, pants are off, let's go scraping straight away." I'm like, hang on a second, let's work out what's going on here. Yeah. Have you ever had scraping before? Maybe scraping's not the best thing for you, because that just comes like your guy. He might not even had scraping done before, but he thinks it does a certain thing. So he's like, well, I think I need scraping. Whereas you might go, hang on, one, I don't do it fully, but two, what are you looking for? Dry needling, cupping, and deep tissue will 100% suffice as well.
Yeah, it's about meeting it there. All right, well, let's get into the dark side before we run out of time today. So we talked about before, obviously, why people might see people, in what particular areas, what's potentially a good practitioner versus bad. Mm-hmm. But I feel like we need to talk about some of the, sad to say, horror stories that we all hear. And now, within our own and other professions, we've all had people come to us and say, hey, do you think this seems a bit much? And things like that. And so we were talking a little earlier about some of the funnier ones we've heard over them, but I know, Mina, that you've experienced one of your clients talked about one recently. Would you like to explain?
No names.
No, we won't name names today.
No, just in general.
No names.
This guy came in. I think he had a bit of tension through his mid-thoracic joint, and I can kind of relate because I had very, very similar things. So I knew about the condition, and then he told me, look, I went and saw this health practitioner. I won't say what type of health practitioner, but he goes, I'll need about 51 sessions before I'll see any improvements. And I said, 51 sessions. He goes, yeah, I'm up for about 5-6 grand. I go, do you know why you need to do that? He's like, no, all I know is that that's what I needed. That's what was told. I went and got x-rays done. Nothing was found. I went and got MRIs. Nothing was found. He goes, I just didn't understand why I needed $6,000 worth of adjustments. And I said, these are important things you need to, look, I was a bit blown away too. I'm like, I barely even tell people to come back once or twice, but 51 treatments, I mean, yeah, don't scare them off. And they might need it.
Yeah. But I
don't
just
scare them off like that.
like, and again, if they don't know why they need it, that's the problem. Like, I think I was telling you, I had someone tell me that they'd had a request. They worked for a particular government agency, which we won't name again, and a particular, first time seeing this client, and this practitioner had asked for 104 sessions over 104 weeks. So I've just met you. That issue is going to take weekly sessions for 2 years. And this is the thing. It very well. There's some stuff ridiculous. That maybe people need regular stuff, but you can't know that day one. You can't be like
down the track.
Day one, sweet, we're going to need to stay at weekly for 2 years and then we'll reevaluate. Like, there's some crazy stuff out there. Like, Ben, what's your big horror one?
It's along the same lines as you boys. Like, mine's actually the same example with you, Mina. So the guy that Mina was talking about, I treated once off, assessed his injury, but the story gets interesting when you delve into the history of practitioners this bloke saw. So I'll put up a story of it. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was a while ago. Like, I worked it out. He'd spent almost close to $3,000 in appointments before he got to me, and 12 months worth of treatment. And he actually saw another physio that I know for over a 10-week period, and it's a cost of vertebral joint irritation is what he had. But he didn't see any improvements over 10 weeks on weekly sessions. And I'm like, and he spent X amount of dollars. I'm like, fuck, sorry you had to do that, dude, because I know that's taken a lot of time and effort and money out of your back pocket. And it's really shit that you've been through that. But showing a bit of compassion, a bit of sympathy and that sort of thing, because that's just a shit thing, to live with pain for 12 months and spend X amount of dollars, and it's affecting his bodybuilding career and all this sort of shit. But so that's probably the case. And then, as you said, Nath, like 3 sessions a week for 2 years, is a bit fucking ridiculous. You're probably dealing with the owner of the business, or someone who's got a equity in the business, or someone who's just driven purely on a commission,
someone who just goes. I think a lot of the problem is there was a bit of free reign with some of the government services, and I think people have just been filling their books with it. Like,
yeah, bro,
the other
100%.
one, and I think you all laughed when I told you this before that I got told about, was a guy that had been seeing a particular health practitioner 6 times a week for 3 years, like 3 one-on-one sessions and 3 Pilates, supervised Pilates sessions with the same person for 3 years with no improvement. Like
I'm just doing the quick maths on that, and that's at $70 a pop over 3 years. That's $65,500.
Yeah, of which the government's pay, and no wonder we're having no wonder people that actually need the care are having trouble accessing it because people are fleecing it. Like, it's just embarrassing as a health practitioner to hear that someone can, did they just not ask the person how they were doing? Like, we've all been blindsided at some stage by someone who was like, oh, I'm not feeling that great. And you're like, oh, because I thought you said you were doing real well. And all right, we need to evaluate this. But for 3 years, there was no reevaluation, no checking in, no anything? It's just same.
Yeah. Like, the practitioner can make the effort, and I'm sure that they did check in, and I'm sure they had good intentions for the person, but it's also,
I just don't know.
Like, obviously, when you're desperate as a client, you're like, fuck, I need pain relief because right now I'm like, this pain is consuming my fucking thoughts and I can't think of anything else but my pain. So you're desperate, right? You're going to go get some help acutely. But to then not question your treatment over a certain amount of time, let's say 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 years, like it's just, I think there's part of responsibility on the person as a client to fucking, like Mina said earlier, to check in and say, like, dude, what are we doing? Like, I'm not feeling any better. What's your plan? Like, why are we doing what we're doing? What's wrong with me, for one? Like,
well, that's where it gets scarier. Like, as I think I told you, they obviously, this government agency called this client and said, "What are you like? How you doing?" And they said, "I'm no better." And they're like, "Well, would you like to not go?" And they're like, "Well, like." They basically, with fear, said if I stop going, then there's no chance of me getting better. And this is something that I despise more, is that scare care type of thing you see, where people are like, if we don't do this, you're in big trouble. Like, you like, again, you've got to walk a tightrope with people between being honest but also like empowering. Like, if someone's got something serious, you need to tell them that, but don't over exaggerate. You know, like. I still can recall a time where I had a client who dislocated his shoulder, saw him 7 days after, young, athletic male, no issues. So he went out and basically straight in, no tears. He had full orthopedic testing of the shoulder was normal. All muscle strength was normal. No issue. Some very, very light pain if he went to full flexion, like very minor pain, like a very light, maybe AC strain.
So and he was sorry, you go.
But he was told he required immediate like shoulder recon by a surgeon. Like, he had to get it. Like, and I was like, man, there's no no issue there. You've got nothing wrong. You've got even no pain. Like, he was a 1 out of 10 pain. And I was like, he's like, yeah, but if I don't do it, he said, I could be real bad in like 40 years. And I'm like, man, in 40 years they'll probably be doing surgery with lasers from space. Like, that dude doesn't know shit. Like. But
his one's all day.
Like, just like it
just got lax ligaments. They fucking went in and out,
and they weren't even.
All clients, like, a GP is only going to give you cortisone and painkillers. Yeah. So,
generally speaking,
generally speaking, yes, right. So
that's their main options.
Musculoskeletal issue. See, physio, a chiro, a myo, osteo, and they'll be able to kind of give you direction. And if we can't fix the issue and it's been chronic, we'll tell you to go and see a GP, and then basically we can take whatever measures we can from there. Practitioners, be honest with your clients. If you are not seeing any results after 2, 3, 4 treatments, refer them on, right? Be clear with your plans. And from a client perspective, if you're not sure about what's happening and what's going on, just simply ask, why are we doing this? How am I going to benefit?
Yeah, and important thing with what Mina just said there, if you're not seeing like benefits after that time, benefits doesn't mean better in pain, because we'll usually see functional benefits long before we see reductions in pain. So if there's no benefit, that means, no changes in range of motion, sleep quality, movement, balance, all these other things that are precursors for improvements in function. If there's no change, absolutely, we've got it. Even if it's not sending out, you need to reevaluate because something's been missed. You need in that reevaluation to be sure that if you're going to continue care with that person, that you're still the right person to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
I get that quick selfie.
I like it. Couldn't forget. All right, closing remarks. Anybody got anything big we need to know?
Just ask the question. That's it.
And I think it goes without saying, we've said it, and we'll probably say it at the end of the episode, if you don't know, feel free to slide into the DMs for advice. None of us care. Right. We all welcome it.
I think, closing on that, I think we briefly touched on Nathan and my comments made on another chiropractor. He seems like a really good dude from New Zealand, talking about how his client wasn't following the prescribed exercise and rehab and shit. And we're like, well, look, that comes down to the practitioner with their communication skills. So I think next episode we should delve into how to be an effective communicator and how to
next episode's pain game, mate. We already decided. You can't change your mind.
Fuck the next one, all right?
The one after can be that one. We'll write it down. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben's getting ahead of himself as usual.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
but you are right. We do need to have a chat on that, because that is, we need to talk
Huge.
about, I think, talking about that communication and building that therapeutic relationship is a huge thing for people. So I think, let's put that in the books, because that's one we need to talk about.
On
All
the
right.
to-do list.
Well,
Thanks,
signing
guys.
off today, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the HBI podcast, Health Business in Between. Have an awesome day, and we will be catching you real soon.
Thank you.